Hello and welcome to the RotoWire Esports Show. My name is Ethan Sexton, and here with me, as always, is DFS Chan. Chan, how's it going today, man?
Good. How are you, Ethan?
Pretty good. No complaints here, man. Let's talk quickly about this morning's 5-game slate. We didn't get to do a video yesterday. Sorry about that, guys. But we'll recap it real quick. Nothing too crazy happened, Chan. In my opinion, over in China, I guess the premier matchup of the day was Edward Gaming against LNG. EDG coming out with a 2-1 win there. In fact, every series in China today, Chan, was a 2-1 with IG taking a game off of Rare Atom before losing, and then Ultra Prime picking up the 2-1 win over Thunder Talk.
Yeah. IG tried to play a spoiler, but then after game one, looks like they tilted again. They were just throwing bodies, and I'm not surprised that they're doing it. And then EDG took care of business. I think they wanted to finish the season in top two in the standings. So, which I think they've done with FPX. Now RNG surging behind them. But yeah, so I think it was an overall expected, as expected how it would go. So, there's a few more days of the regular season left in the LPL. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about this more when we preview the next slate that IG are on, but IG have one series left on Saturday against Thunder Talk, and there's a lot of rumors about Rookie and the Shy potentially retiring. So, that's going to be interesting. We could be in for a really fun series, but we can talk about that more tomorrow when we preview Saturday's slate. Over in the LCK, Chan, we saw two sweeps. So actually, the sweeps were over in Korea this morning. We saw the first series of the day with Damwon, just a one-sided sweep of Fred at Breon. No real problems there, as they lock up their 10th win of the split. And then Sandbox with a nice 2-0 over Hanwha Life. So Sandbox continuing to perform pretty well here.
Yeah, kind of as expected as well. Sandbox really had to win this to secure the playoffs. I know they had like a 99% chance of, securing it, but still, I think they needed to win just to make sure. And then Hanwha was a must win for them, but, I just feel like Sandbox has a lot more win conditions than Hanwha did today. And Summit dominated that top lane today. And yeah, in the LCK, it looks like these, elite teams, top teams are separating themselves from the inferior teams so far.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, so Hanwha Life aren't officially eliminated yet, but Afrika just need to win one more series, and that'll lock in Afrika, and it'll lock in all of the LCK teams. So if Afrika pick up a win this weekend, even though the LCK has one more week of the regular split next week, the playoff teams are going to be locked in, much like China, where pretty much all the teams were locked in early.
Right.
So we'll talk about that more, as things come. But we're going to jump into tomorrow's slate here, Chan. We kick things off in the LCK with a matchup between DRX and KT, two of the three worst teams in the league over in Korea. KT are 5-10. They're in 8th place, and DRX are 2-13. They are in dead last, 10th place. So kind of a toilet bowl matchup here, a bit of a toilet bowl matchup, Chan. What's the numbers say for DFS here? Is this just a series we might want to ignore, or do the metrics kind of make you want to take a look, even though it's two bad teams?
Well, I think there is a scenario where KT could still make the playoffs, barely though. So
you are correct. Yep, you're correct.
I think KT is going to try very, very hard, in my opinion. I think as of a few days ago, they had less than 10% chance. I'm sure it's been reduced after today's game, all that.
Yeah, what it is, Chan, sorry to interrupt you. So it's the same thing. KT would need to win all three of their series they have left, and they would need Afrika to not win again. So they're kind of in the same boat. Basically, if Afrika wins one more series, they lock in their spot with 9 wins, and then neither Hanwha Life nor KT could get to 9. So there is it's very slim, but you're right. They are still technically alive in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, technically you're right. So yeah, I just feel like KT has the biggest motivation for the playoffs on the slate amongst all 8 teams. But I just feel like they're going up against DRX, and DRX is bad. but KT has been bad too. So like you said, I mean, two bad teams going against each other, but I just still have to prefer, KT here. I just feel like DRX has been horrible. I know DRX is coming off of a very nice win in their last series, but I just feel like that was just a fluke. They just played really well that day. I just feel like they didn't really have this. Still haven't shown me that they've been better than much better than before. So I just feel like I'll have to favor KT here. And yeah, I mean for DFS purposes, I mean this is gonna be. I think both LCK matchups are gonna be low in kills. And this one, even though this one has a higher combined kills per minute compared to Gen.G and T1, I still think it's going to be a low in kills type of a game because KT is going to have to play by the book, in my opinion, just to kind of focus on the macro game and try to win because, I mean, that's really the most important thing for them right now. So I just feel like, it's going to be more of a 10 to 8 type of a game, the typical LCK game, late in the season. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we might as well jump over. Let's talk about T1 and Gen.G just because we kind of lump them together because, like you said, these are going to be the two slowest games on the slate, at least according to the metrics. Mm-hmm. This one, like, as a fan, right, like it's two big name teams, two historically great teams. So it's good, like, for the neutral party to watch. But for DFS, Chan, these are maybe the two teams that we talk about the most as being awful for DFS. So I'm not sure, like, that either one of us is going to be very excited for this matchup. We've got T1 at 9-6 in 5th place in the LCK and Gen.G at 10-4 in 2nd place in the LCK. But yeah, man, I mean, are you really looking at this series at all for DFS purposes? Because it's two teams that really don't push the pace that often.
I agree, and Gen.G actually has been struggling quite a bit late in the second half of the season of the split. So in terms of the match prediction, I would have to favor T1 here, and I think they're the favorite.
They are, yep.
Vegas odds, even though Gen.G is in the 2nd place for the standings. So I think Gen.G, I think if they want to finish in top 3, they're gonna have to win this game. But I just feel like just based on the recent form, I just feel like T1's gonna win here. But yeah, I mean for DFS purposes, yeah, I mean like metrics indicate that this is gonna be a very low kill game. As you know, Gen.G has been priced accordingly, based on their score output in these games, and T1 as well. I mean I feel like every game that I watch out of T1, they always score like less than 15 kills, fewer than 15 kills every game. So I just feel like it's going to be low based on those statistics. But sometimes, like when two top teams go against each other like this in the LCK, they tend to draw out the games, like maybe go to like 40 minutes, 50 minutes sometimes because they they trade objectives, they focus on lanes in opposite lanes. So I mean, sometimes there's a chance. I mean, I've seen where they just last until like 45, 50-minute mark. So if that happens again, obviously then there will be a lot more kills compared to what the metrics would indicate. So, I mean, there is a chance. So, I mean, I feel like if I had to compare, if I had to choose between this LCK matchup and then compared to the KT and DRX matchup, I think this matchup, Gen.G T1 matchup, will produce more kills in my opinion.
Yeah, well, luckily, Chan, you don't have to choose between the two LCK matchups unless you really want to, because we've got two LPL matchups as well. So I think we're going to be a lot more, I should say, excited about these two matchups than the two LCK matchups. So the LPL kicks off tomorrow with Rogue Warriors going up against JD Gaming. Both teams eliminated from playoffs. JD Gaming 7-8, 11th place in the LPL, and Rogue Warriors 4-11. 15th place in the LPL. Chan, we've been and about Rogue Warriors a lot, like as a team that could create some upsets potentially, be a banana peel for some of these teams that are better than them. So while I think we would both agree that JD Gaming are the better team, they've got LPC starting as their AD carry over Loken tomorrow, I should have brought up. I think we both agree that JD Gaming have more talent and should be the better team and should win. But Chan, do you have any love for this Rogue Warriors team tomorrow? They're cheap. they're not a good team, Chan, but they've played better than some of the teams around them. Like they're not as bad as a Thunder Talk or a V5. So any hope for Rogue Warriors tomorrow, or do you think it's just going to be a pretty one-sided stomp for JDG?
Yeah, I think Rogue Warriors makes the best GPP play in my opinion on the slate. I just feel
agree.
I just feel like JDG, they're not making the playoffs. So like, how are they going to come out? How are they going to react? I mean,
right.
JDG, as like you said, historically, I mean, have been a really, really good team. They've made the playoffs, I mean, almost every split that we can imagine, that we can think of. So, I mean, I don't know how they're going to respond after missing the playoffs. I mean, like you said, I mean, LPC is starting over Loken. So I just don't know if they give a damn about this series. I just feel like they're just going to come out and, I mean, it might turn out to be a clown fiesta. So we'll see what happens. But just knowing Kanavi and his playing style, and then knowing like Lumao, they take the game pretty seriously. So I wouldn't, bank on them just, going nuts about the game. But I do think Rogue Warriors has been a really, really good team, actually. I mean, in terms of team fights, I think their overall gameplay has been shaky, but their team fights have been really, really good. So, it's just based on that based on their style of play, I think they definitely can upset a lot of teams like JDG. So I definitely do think Rogue Warriors has a really good shot to upsetting JDG here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just based on these matchups, I mean, this is going to be better for pace than the LCK matchups, like we mentioned. And then if you look at the underdogs on this slate, I mean, you're not going to – I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, Chan, but I don't think either one of us want to play Victory 5. So Rogue Warriors are almost the default best underdog on this slate. But I think it's not like hey, I just want to play them to get leverage. I think there is some chance that they win. That said, at the end of the day, JD Gaming probably – do take this series, would be my guess, if I was betting money or whatever, and not worrying about like ownership percentage, I'd take JD Gaming. So do you have any hesitation though, paying up for JD Gaming tomorrow? Or do you think they're, a pretty decent bet, if you want to make a few lineups, you make a couple with Rogue Warriors and then maybe a few more with JDG?
I do think it will be an interesting GPP slate. I mean, I think for cash, I think a lot of people will want to play JDG because they're the second biggest favorite on the slate. But I just don't know. I just feel like after missing the playoffs in such a long time, and this game really is meaningless to both teams.
Yep.
And, anything can happen under that scenario. And Rogue Warriors has been playing well. And frankly, they've been in better form than JDG has been. So, who knows? But I definitely will not play JDG in my cash lineups, I think. I think there are better cash options here on the slate. But yeah, I think it makes for a good GPP slate, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that better cash game option right now, Chan. We've got the final game of the day is LGD, 6-9, 12th place in the LPL, taking on the winless 0-15 Victory 5. I think if I'm paying up for one of the two top teams between JDG and LGD, for cash, certainly I'm playing LGD. And what I'm wondering for you is, are LGD even a better GPP play than JD Gaming? Maybe not when you take ownership into account because they're probably going to be higher owned than JDG. But it feels like this is a pretty good matchup in terms of upside for them to get a lot of kills in as well. So it feels like if you're going to pay up for one of the two, unless you really want to get an ownership leverage, LGD is the team to pay up for tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. And I think LGD definitely has a better chance of beating Victory 5 just based on the reasons you set forth. I do think the other matchup, LPL matchup, Rogue Warriors and JDG will produce more kills because both teams like to fight. And I think it's really meaningless. That game is meaningless to those teams. But in this matchup, LGD versus V5, I mean, it doesn't mean much for LGD because they're not in the playoffs, and this is really a meaningless game. But for Victory 5, like you said, I mean, they're winless. This could be their first win. I know they've been playing a tad bit better over the last couple of series. But I just feel like people are going to, be on the narrative where, Victory 5 playing against a bad LGD team, they could get a win here, as the last, as the season concludes. but I just don't buy into that narrative. And I do think that narrative will cause the ownership of Victory 5 higher than as it should be.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be like 5 or 10% higher than, they would be owned on any other given slate. So I just feel like, I do like LGD. I do think just based on the metrics for DFS purposes, Victory 5 has been playing much slower the last couple of weeks. I think in the last series, we were smashing on the team that was playing against V5, but V5 actually dictated some of the pace in the game, and they were playing slow and avoiding team fights. So that kind of it makes me a little hesitant on paying up for LGD, but I just feel like LGD has the best chance to win. In all those 4 games on the slate.
I agree.
Because Victory 5 has been so bad historically. I mean, their numbers are so bad. So who knows what's going to happen? But in their last game here, but I just feel like LGD is going to take care of business here.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, this is V5's last chance to get a win. I just don't see it happening, man. I mean, if people want to play V5, have at it. It's not going to be me. We've talked at different points throughout this slate that Victory 5 might be the worst team in any of the major regions, not just China. I mean, they are so bad. Like, it'd be a pretty big shock, I think, if they won. Because LGD are not a good team per se, but they're not a crap level team like a Victory 5. So this should definitely be an LGD win, unless they just don't care and it turns into some kind of a clown fiesta, like you said about the other series, there is some small concern there because, as you've mentioned a few times, neither of these LPL series really mean anything at all. So, but I think LGD will get it done, and I just think V5 are so bad they're not even worth playing.
Yeah, and Fearness is starting in the top lane, which I like much better than Garvey. But obviously, so I think that increases LGD's chance to score well and win. But also there is some substitution risk in case somehow Victory 5 pulls off a game 1 win there. So we'll see what happens. But I just feel like, I think LGD is going to want to end on a good note just based on the Shadow coming into the season, and then ZA, he's getting old, and, I just feel like Kramer has been there for a long time. And so I just feel like, I think LGD is going to want to try. I think they'll take care of business. I know people are, like I said, I think people are going to buy into V5's narrative that they're going to get their first win here, but I think that's a false narrative. So
I think so too. So feel free to play V5 if you really want, hoping they get their first win, but it's not going to be me. Chan, anything else you want to go over for tomorrow before we take off for today?
No, I think that's it, except for one thing. I think DRX, KT, I mentioned that it's going to be a slow game because KT's going to, want to try and make the playoffs by winning this game. But DRX, we always mention about this. After they switched their bottom lane and mid lane, they've been playing a little faster. So, I mean, there is a little bump on the KT's pace and their kill upside. And then for T1, who knows who they're going to start? I mean, I assume they're going to start the same starting 5 that they started last series, which is on RotoWire's, lineup website. But I feel like sometimes T1 pulls off some of these things late in the split. So, just look out for that. I know it's the second LCK game, but there's nothing you can do about it. But
no,
I'm just letting you know that, we're just letting you know that, there is some risk there inherently. So.
Yeah, as always, those LCK lineups, some of them are not the safest bet. So there's always some risk there. But Chan, thank you as always, man. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Keeps you up to date on when we're going to go live and all that kind of good stuff. If you want to check out RotoWire, you can go to rotowire.com/try. Get yourself a free 10-day trial with no credit card required. And then once you're signed up, you can go to rotowire.com/chat, and that'll give you instructions on how to join the subscriber-only Discord server, which is a great place to ask questions or join in the conversation. The esports channel has been pretty active of late, so definitely check those things out once you're signed up. And then, hopefully you stick around after 10 days, but you at least get 10 days for free. So there's no risk. Jump in and check out the entirety of the site. It's tons of traditional sports content as well. Football's kicking off here soon. Baseball, we're in the throes of summer here, Chan, but guys trying to round out and win titles. You can get some advice for that run, and don't sleep on the soccer coverage because for my money, and I'm not just saying this because I also work for the soccer division at RotoWire, but I think our fantasy stuff is the best in the game, and it really shows with a huge active Discord section especially for DFS soccer. So check all that stuff out. 10 days for free. There's no risk, so why not, right? Chan, thanks as always, man. We'll get together tomorrow and talk about Saturdays. I believe Saturday is just a 4-game slate. I think there's only 2 LPL games this weekend instead of 3, so a 4-game slate on Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ethan. Good luck, everybody.